Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I'm just setting up the live stream because apparently Moss didn't get it up in time, so I'm just making sure that it streams to the Facebook page. Uh,
Okay, I had sort of a strange thing. I went out and logged in through Facebook, and it was saying like March 5th or something.
yeah,
So
that
I
sure what's
so I
going on
went
there.
down to YouTube and came in through that, and that showed the normal.
Okay, should have been the same link, but weirdness happens. You never know with these when all these different machines start talking to each other, anything
Or
can
don't,
happen.
or they don't talk to each other.
That's more
I don't
often the
know.
case, for
Yeah.
sure. All right. So I'm going to go ahead. Just because today I'm feeling a little generous, I'm gonna let the general public kind of sit in for a few minutes on us just to see what people are interested in getting in the main. But since I have my basic crew here, all right, let's start with Christine. What are your questions for today, honey?
Yes, go over again. You haven't covered it in a long time. Go over what causes people to, I think it's a question. I'm not depressed, but some people are, and they forget the reason for it. What's the usual cause? And you've talked about it a long time ago, but I haven't seen it anywhere in any of the stuff anytime recently.
Well, there's many reasons why people can feel depressed. We have to make a distinction, especially on a channel like this. You have to make a distinction between someone who's diagnosed with clinical depression versus someone who's just feeling a transitory depression from just they're just in a bad mood or their blood sugar's low. There's many reasons why people have depressive feelings, but I don't think that's really what you're asking. I think what you're actually asking about is what is the phenomena when people can't name how they feel, right?
That would be a good one too.
Right? And the technical term based on the work by Dr. Basil van der Kolk is known as alexithymia. Now, alexithymia is an interesting phenomena because one of the interesting what happens is a lot of times a human being doesn't can't quite put what they're feeling into words. They can't give it a name. And for our nervous system to be able to process anything, it has to have a container. That container is usually its name, right? And that's how a lot of NLP is actually starts to break things apart because what happens is when we take a process that we're running and we assign a name to it, that either makes it an active running process or a static um, a stationary process. And again, I'm not going to get into jargon, but the technical term is nominalization. We take a process and we turn it into a thing, then our unconscious mind treats it like a solid object rather than a set of moving parts. So in order for us to change that many times, we have to revert it back to a process. But along the same lines, that naming something gives it a container, it gives it a set of associations that allows us to know what to do with it. And a lot of times, the feelings or emotions that we get are a little bit of this emotion and a little bit of that emotion and a little bit of this emotion. And there's just enough of each one for it to make the situation worse, but not enough for us to fully name it as anger or rage or depression or envy. And so we don't have a name for it. And so this amorphous bad feeling that we don't know what to do with, our nervous system doesn't know what to do with, is just kind of stuck there in the system. And a lot of people, a lot of the work in a lot of trauma schools of traumatology is in finding a way to get to get that information to the level where the nervous system can process it. We found the fastest way around that is just to turn it into a color. Because the moment you take that unnameable set of data that the nervous system is holding on to and you move it through one of the sensory cortexes, it recodes all that information into something that the nervous system understands. And because the nervous system understands it, now it can change it. And so we very adeptly get around that. But a lot of systems, and you know, the words for different things, like certain countries or certain languages have words for things we don't have, right? And so a lot of times they can't put to words the things they need to process, but we do it by cortical circumvention or recoding them through one of the other sensory cortexes, which is also I've been getting a lot of feedback lately that people want to know how to work with if you have aphantasia, which is the inability to see a color, because to the general public, a lot of our process is going to be very visually dominant. In other words, we point to where you feel it, notice the color, blah, blah, blah. But people with aphantasia have a neurological or psychological inability to make images in their minds. Well, it's okay because you can just as easily use a sound or a smell or a taste. In fact, often I have people listen to point to where they feel it and listen to it and ask their system what sound would change that. And people can actually use those other systems very, very well. If you're aphantasic or your inability to do imagery is even more profound, you can literally take a color, like pick a color outside of you that represents what feels right, right? Because I haven't met anybody yet who couldn't feel, right? Even numbness is a feeling. So if you can find the somatic address and assign an external color to it, then you can literally take two colors. Once your nervous system has assigned a meaning to it, the problem color and the not so and the resolution color, and you can pass them together physically as you imagine it, right? And you can actually start to the nervous system will start to process it. It'll process it in a similar way through different circuits. Because now instead of going through the interoceptive system, we're going through the exteroceptive, the proprioceptive system. And this is very similar to the way many people are taught to visualize, right? People who have hard time seeing pictures, they're taught to take a simple object, like a die, and just hold it in their hand and then take the die away and still see it there. And then if the image starts to fade, you just put it back and you keep practicing that until you develop the neuroplasticity to see the device. Well, if I have two dice, one represents the problem and one represents the solution, I could theoretically, you guys would have to test this, assign this is the one that makes me feel bad, this is the one that makes me feel good. You can pass them back and forth through the hemispheres, and that might actually get you cross traffic. And there's some precedence to this idea because in Melissa Tier's book, I think it's Toolkit for the Brain or some anxiety, the anxiety toolkit. She talks about when people are suffering from anxiety, you have a tennis ball in one hand and you just throw it back and forth while you're thinking about the problem or the thing that makes you anxious. And because you're passing it from one hand to the other, you're stimulating traffic across the corpus callosum, and that helps you recode the experience. So this idea of using a proxy for the color and then passing it through the area or around the area where the negative problem is, as long as you have the associations connected or the meanings, in technical term is complex equivalence, you should be able to get some degree of resolution for that. The other way that you can do it, and the reason I'm talking about this a lot more than just what you asked about is because I was getting a lot of comments when I was scanning through my comments section. There were a lot of a disproportional number of comments about people who are having trouble visualizing and all the different ways that you can work around an inability to see an image, right? And so you got four other senses that you can play with. And when in doubt, just play pretend. Playing pretend is the fastest neurological hack that we have to get to just about any situation. So anyway.
Playing pretend. Okay.
All right. Was there any other question? Did I answer your question overabundantly?
Yes, probably. But you were saying somehow you're mixing the two colors together, or you're running one color through the other to dissolve.
Yeah, so you've got the problem color and you've got the solution color, right? So you would still ask yourself,
Right.
okay, if my higher mind could give me a feeling, a frequency, a vibration, a sound, a smell, a taste that would represent that thing, that bad thing I don't like, I want to get rid of. What color, sound, smell, taste might it give me, right? And you say, okay, well, if
Right,
my higher mind could send me a feeling, a frequency, a vibration, a color that would completely resolve that issue and give me what I want to say, what would it be? Well, instead of saying sounds, you could say sound, you could say smell, you could say taste, and you work with whatever modality you like. So if you're someone who goes by smell, what's the problem smell like?
right,
Right? What smell would dissolve that and give you what you want instead? Well, then you create that smell. And the fastest way to create the smell is to imagine a time when you were smelling it, or remember a time when you were smelling it, right? And
right.
just go with that and pretend.
And then ask it what smell would make this other thing just
Yeah,
dissolve.
yep, exactly.
And then
Again,
you just
we're using all the same, mechanisms. Uh, we're just using a different modality. The only thing that really changes is the color, the sound, the smell, right? Which one of those are we using? We could use all of them, or we could use an
yeah.
external proxy if we really had to,
I'm
right?
not sure what you're referring to as an external proxy. I
I mean,
have never.
it's a substitute. That's all proxy means. I'm using this in place of an internally generated image. I'm using an external
Well,
object.
I don't know what this is. Your hand?
It's a dice.
Oh, you're using a dice. Well, we
Mhm.
can't see that really well.
Mhm. Well, it could be a remote control, right? It could be two different remote controls, right? It
Oh,
doesn't
okay,
really
okay,
matter what the objects are as long as you make the association problem solution.
okay. That's
Okay?
fine. I was just, you're using the word, but I didn't quite understand how it connected to
Yeah. It's a
solving
consequence of too much reading and
problems.
education. I wind up using really bizarre words that nobody uses in real life. So,
Well, a lot of English teachers do. They use all sorts of words, and that's what my mom studied
mhm,
when she was in college.
mhm. Well, that's why they're English teachers.
Well, they're English teachers, and to me, when people use English incorrectly, it's
Mhm.
like hearing somebody scratching their fingers on a chalkboard.
Oh, I understand that. That's how most neurolinguistic programmers feel after they get out of their seminar because everybody's using words wrong.
Well, the thing is, when people honestly are using their words wrong,
Mhm. Well,
then
again,
just like
the problem with when we say using their words wrong, and there's many different ways that
we're
people use their
using
words
their
wrong.
words improperly according to the English language.
Okay, I get
That's
that.
that's all I'm there.
Okay,
No disrespect at all.
no problem. All right,
Well,
let's go to.
thank you, David.
You're welcome. Let's go to Jax. Talk to me, Jax.
Hey, David.
Hey,
Happy Valentine's Day.
thank you.
You're welcome. Um, the big thing that's kind of been on my mind lately is back before Katrina, I had a
Mm-hmm.
dream about what happened at their arena.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly, this dream is coming back to me in full force, only a couple of parts of it. And I'm starting to see it. I've seen it in movies, I've seen it in series. I haven't seen it in real life yet, but it's in my mind constantly, and it's in my meditation. It's in everything that every day, all day long. And I don't know why, and I don't understand why it's coming back. Because I completely forgot about the dream for multiple years. And now it's back, and I don't know what to do with it. I mean, I'm working on it through another process, but
Did you regress the
I don't
cause?
know. I didn't.
Okay. When in doubt, regress the cause.
Okay.
That's always going to be your most direct, most nuclear option. Because when you go back to where where the seed was planted, the tree goes with it.
Well, I'm wondering why I picked up on what happened in Katrina before it happened anyway. I know that I can see things before they happen, but it's sometimes it's not things I want to see.
Well, if you're coming to me for a why question, my answer will always be the same, because God said so. right? We are far more than this physical body, and the thoughts that we experience are not local. They're not limited to time, space, or location. So it's very possible for you to perceive things that haven't happened yet. It's also very possible for you to revisit things that happened many, many, many years ago, centuries ago sometimes, or things that happened in parallel versions of yourself, if you buy into the whole multiverse idea. So, to ask me a why question, as neurolinguistic, as a neurolinguistic programmer, we're allergic to most why questions because they don't give you useful information. Man's search for meaning is mostly a search for why. And every different spiritual practice, every different discipline has a slightly different why. So who's right? The answer is yes.
Well, precognition has always been in my life.
Mhm.
Some days I wish it wasn't. But there's not a lot I can do about it.
Nope, you just deal with it, right? Best thing you can do when those things
Oh,
come
work
is
on your
journal
stuff
them.
with it.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, the best thing you can do for yourself, and this is for anybody who has a lot of precognitive flashes, when you have one and you know it's one of those, immediately journal it.
Okay.
Because if you don't, if you let that energy just circulate out, perpetually inside of your body, it becomes like an earworm.
Right.
You need to push it through the externalization filter, get it out into the world, and let the rest of quantum reality take care of it. But while it's locked in your nervous system, it's impacting you in a less than positive way. So vent the emotional charge onto a piece of paper or something where you can reference it. And if and when that event happens, there's proof, right? But mostly it gets that energy out of your system.
Okay. I can do that.
Mhm.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's go to Lady Laura.
Wash, rinse, repeat.
Wash, rinse, repeat.
Is there a I'm struggling with this whole concept right now. I mean,
Of
I've wash, rinse, repeat. It's like I have this one core memory that keeps back up, back up,
uh-huh.
back up, back up. And like it seems like the intensity dies down, then it comes back. And I know it's just different layers of the same thing, but why is it is there a different is it just a different angle or
If you're having recurring thoughts, recursive thoughts, there's almost always a communication from your unconscious. There's something that your unconscious mind, there's a message that your unconscious mind is trying to convey to you. The problem is that the unconscious mind tends to communicate both in sensation and metaphor. And many times when we receive that metaphor or that feeling, our conscious mind does a transderivational search and creates a completely alien narrative around the information, um, based on what it thinks we're trying to say. But it's usually not as linear as that. It's usually much more circular. For example, my intuition and my precognition has been going up a lot since I've been doing certain practices. And I was doing a meditation. I was literally doing a meditation um, last week, as a matter of fact. And in the meditation, I thought I fell asleep because I had that I was in that dream state. And in that dream, I was lying on a cot, or actually I was walking into the bedroom. I was looking down at the floor, and laying on the floor was my cell phone. And the cell phone was going off, and it was a call. Caller ID said it was my daughter Cassia. And then I look up
okay.
and see this gorilla rampaging throughout the house at the same time. And I wake up, I come out of the meditation, and I'm thinking, well, that was interesting. I wonder what that meant. 2 minutes later, my phone starts ringing.
And
It's
it's
my
your
daughter,
daughter.
Cassia, and she's hysterical because her grandfather charged into the house, ran into her room, ripped the bed sheets off of her bed, and woke her up, berating her for her poor schoolwork and all these other things. He was having this, I've never seen anybody like have a rage attack like this guy, but he has a lot going on. I'm not going to get into the family business,
Yeah.
but that was literally a 2 minute, like literally I went through the meditation. I came out, I was sitting there regrounding for about 3 minutes and the phone goes off. And it's my daughter and there's this rampaging thing going through
So
her.
it's yeah, symbolic, and it's not always
Exactly. And
linear.
that's the problem that we have, is that we expect it to be one way or the other, when in fact it's a mixture. Some things
Got
are
it.
literal, some things are metaphorical, and that's what screws us up when we try to apply conscious mind thinking to unconscious mind communication.
Okay. Yeah, that actually makes more sense than you would think. Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Does that help?
Yeah. Yeah. Literally, it's a warning. I kind of see it now.
Mhm.
It makes that, like, there's connections going, oh, okay. It's like, yeah, so that makes
But
perfect
here's the
sense. So thank
thing.
you.
It's not, it can be a warning for sure. It's a harbinger of something that you need to explore
Yeah.
100%. But it's not always negative. Sometimes it's an insight that's being given to you, but the only way it can be communicated from the unconscious mind is through this combination of metaphor
Uh-huh.
and literal symbolism, right?
Yeah.
So once again, the more time we spend learning how to decode that and learning how to trust that the unconscious mind doesn't send you junk. Just because you don't understand it doesn't mean it's not useful, right? It
Hmm.
allows us to really trust our intuition more. For example, when you're doing mindsight training, which is something I'm really enjoying right now, when you're learning how to see without your eyes, right? You have blindfold on, and they give you these colored papers, right? Well, the first thing they teach you is called touch sensing, where you take a set of colored papers and you calibrate and you feel the paper and you get a sense of what that color is, not what the color is itself, but the other qualities that you feel subjectively when you hold the paper. So, for example, I might have a red piece of paper in one hand and a yellow piece of paper in the other, but I don't know it's yellow and red. So I'm feeling it and I'm palpating it, and I get the sensation of soft when I touch this one, and I get the sensation of coarse or cool or hot when I touch the other one. And I go through this process of calibration, not for the
Hmm.
color, but for what my nervous system picks up when I touch those particular objects. Right. And then I
Yeah,
start,
they do
I start
that when they teach
calibrating.
people to
Yeah.
read Braille too.
I
Yeah.
start calibrating that. And then I eventually map it from the qualities that I pick up when I touch it to a specific color. But that chain of uh, mapping across may be one link or it may be five. I may go from soft to smooth to warm to red, right?
Okay.
And
Yeah.
that's how you begin. And they work you through in mindsight training. They work you through each of the different senses, which is kind of cool, right? First, you learn how to sense a color by feeling. Then you learn how to sense it by listening to it. And it just gets weirder from there. But the whole point is these aren't, we can think of them as psychic if you want, but I don't. I don't think of them as psychic abilities. I think of them as extended sensory perceptions because they're natural extensions of the range that our nervous system came in with. They're not
Yeah.
extra, they're just latent. They're dormant.
Hmm.
So we just need to
Hmm.
wake those areas up. So that, and the same thing is when we look at our dreams and we look at these meditations or these metaphors that we get through our meditations or our energy practices or whatever, we have to learn how to map across while still applying our six dynamics. Because
Okay.
even with that whole gorilla thing, with the cell phone and the gorilla, I was still applying my six dynamics to it because whatever comes up first is always the right answer, even if you don't consciously understand it.
Yeah.
And it was right on both sides. So,
Hmm.
but like I said to Jax, when that stuff comes up and it's wash, rinse, repeat, as you like to call it, put it on paper.
That's hard. Yeah.
right? Why? This is the same reason we do things with Magic Frame.
Yeah.
The act of writing it vents the energy from the system. It codifies everything and clarifies what needs keeping and lets everything else go. It sends a profound message to the nervous system that that shit's done.
Yeah.
Message
Makes sense.
received. You don't need to keep sending it. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Cool. All right, let's jump to Susan.
As if I had a thought in my head. It's an interesting discussion, though.
Uh-huh.
There's something floating around somewhere, but it's not in my head. So if it comes up, if it moves into my head, I'll let you know.
Okay, very
It's
good.
vague.
Let's go to the great and powerful Kim.
Hi, David.
Hey.
Yeah, I'm just shifting gears to be present here. So give me a little bit to think of something.
All right. While you guys are thinking of something, I'm going to go ahead and talk to some of our guests on the YouTube world. So we have a question. Oh, Origami says, I am beautiful. Thank you. Wasn't what I was looking for, but okay. How do you bring down a hay fever or histamine reaction? Well, you should go check with your doctor to make sure it's okay to do some of the things we teach. Always check with your medical practitioners first, but spinning it usually works pretty well. Color breathing can work really well. Those would be my first options when I'm dealing with any kind of physical symptom. Point to where I feel it. Notice the color connected to it. Ask if the system, if it's okay to change it, if there's any reason why I might want to keep it. And then I would eliminate any safety lessons or reasons for holding on to it. And then I'd take it out, I'd spin it in the direction that I want to feel instead. And I'd put it back in and I'd see how much change that I get. And I just keep doing that until I've gotten it to zero and it doesn't come back. So let's see here. So Karen, hopefully I answered your question. Yes, it is in real time. Karen Cadillac says the reincarnation is not in our life, it's part of the life and it's real. Okay. Any advice on fat loss? Well, Mateus, fat loss is really, there's so many different dimensions to it. One of my more infamous mentors used to say, just stop eating. If you don't put it in your eating hole, you can't gain weight. Well, that's a little bit of an oversimplification. There's many reasons why people gain weight. The question becomes, is it more than 20 pounds? My experience clinically has been is that when it's more than 20 pounds, as I was taught by Jerry Kine, it usually has an emotional or historical basis. It's not just a sloppy, sedentary lifestyle, right? There's probably some kind of denial or armoring or security issues that are at play, keeping you from from letting go of that weight. Not that they're mutually exclusive, but one often feeds the other. But usually, if you're more than 20 pounds overweight, I would start looking at the emotional reasons why you're eating, the emotional reasons why you're not actually going out and becoming more active, things of that nature. And if you don't find anything on an emotional level, then it has to be lifestyle or hormonal. You need to see your medical doctor, and you need to really get a good checkup to make sure that there's nothing physiological going on with that process, right? Always, 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 regardless of what order I speak in, always check with your physicians or whoever you trust as your primary care provider before doing anything we teach you on the channel. Now, the worst that can happen with most of the things we teach you on the channel is nothing. There's nothing that you can't trigger that you can't fix, right? And that's what's nice about it is the system is always organized towards health. But you still should probably make sure that there's nothing physiologically treatable immediately or through medication or whatever. And that really does require you to do some due diligence, right? Again, I'm not the health police, so I can't make you go do that, right? But it's always a good idea, just to make sure, right? And they can be wrong, right? And I've met quite a few that have been wrong, but again, I have to, and keep in mind also that I'm a public figure and people listen to what I say. And so I have to CYA too. Always, always, always check with your primary care physician before doing anything on any of these channels, regardless of how many letters they got behind their name or how many doctorates they hold. Do your due diligence, take responsibility for your own health and well-being. That being said, what you're going to find more often than not is a combination of lifestyle and emotional issues that are keeping you from actually doing the things that would allow you to drop the weight, right? Speaking as someone who's had weight issues in one form or another most of his life, and up until recently had a pretty good track record, right? My lifestyle's got to be modified again because I'm starting to expand in all the wrong directions. But the truth is that, you know, getting heavy is easy in my family, if you know what I mean. I can look at cake and gain weight. So I understand the frustration that can come from that. But a lot of it is just getting out there and being more mobile, less screen time, and making sure that the emotional reasons that are keeping you from going out and being more active and being more interactive, as well as the things that are causing you to eat for comfort or safety or security, are best handled that way. Just handle the emotional stuff first. And a lot of times the behavioral stuff tends to take care of itself, right? Okay. Let's go to, let me see. Let's see, Karen, can you turn your camera on?
Hello,
Hello.
I don't think so right now. Sorry, I'm
Okay.
a bit shy.
It's all right. What's your question?
I think I'm getting a little bit nervous. Can someone be the next, and maybe after I can be? I need to
That's
relax a
fine.
little.
That's fine. All right, let me go see what we got here. Just eat that blinking cake at a distance. Okay, there's some interesting conversations going on in my chat. So Lankamil is asking, could you elaborate a little on spinning the magic screen, color breathing, please? Thank you, David, for your brilliant work. Well, thank you for thinking my work is brilliant. So there are 3 core techniques for rapid, energetic, and psycho-emotional transformation, physical transformations as well, that we teach to the general public because we want everybody to have these, right? I mean, we have tons of other techniques, but these are the ones that will put the biggest dent in probably anything you throw them at in the shortest amount of time possible. And I know I'm known for making extraordinary claims, but just because they're extraordinary doesn't mean they're false, right? And I get in trouble with this all the time because what we consider to be average results with our techniques are considered extraordinary by everybody else. So to me, it's just another day at the office, and all these AIs think I'm making extraordinary claims. And yet you can go to my YouTube channel and you can watch me fixing person after person after person. We're fixing it together. It's a partnership. But I've spent a lot of time doing this. And once you understand how your system really, really works, there's so much more you can do with it. But that takes a little bit more time, training, energy. But the 3 techniques that you're asking about, energy spinning, is where you point to where you feel it, notice the color connected to it. You pull the color out of your body, you hold it in your hands, you notice if the color changed or stays the same. You notice the direction it's moving, you find the direction that makes it feel better, and then you spin it like a wheel in that direction, and you keep amplifying the spin until it starts to take on a life of its own, until it's impossible for it to go back the way it was. When you know you've got it, you put it back in to the space you took it out of. Now, just changing the angle of spin changes the programming language that the system used to create the problem. And with that one tweak, reinserting it back into the system causes your neurology to overwrite the existing program with the new program, and you get a different result. Think about it like you have a program that's running on your computer that's messed up, but you have enough programming information that you can pull a copy of that program out. You can open it up. You can edit it a little bit. You can repack the program and stick it back in the computer. Now the computer runs better than ever. That's basically all we're doing. The programming language of the autonomic nervous system is the language of sensation and metaphor. If you understand that and you know how to integrate the different divisions of the nervous system, you can reprogram just about anything that you can conceive of. So magic frame is where we point to where we feel it. We reach out and touch a picture out here. We trace the outline of it with both of our hands. We write the lessons connected to a particular issue. We shrink it down. We move it behind us. I just did, how many of you guys were on our webinar on Tuesday? If you haven't, if you want to see a demonstration, a group demonstration of Magic Frame, you can go to the webinar, Hidden Laws of Attraction, I think was the original name of it. I think we're calling it Why Your Manifestation Stalls. And one of the very first things that we do is the Magic Frame technique, and I highly, highly recommend that for anything that keeps recurring. In other words, a pattern is emerging. Because many times your nervous system will recreate the same issue over and over and over again until you find the username and password to log into that level of the nervous system and rewrite the code, right? And the secret to pointing to logging in is pointing to where you feel it and turning it into a color. That's really what it comes down to. We call it somatic address, somatic bridge, right? If you want to learn more of that, I highly recommend you jump into our next real world hypnosis and hypnotherapy certification coming up March 24th through the 28th. And that will give you the entire system of transformation that we use to take on just about anything. If you want more information with that, I can either put a link or a phone number in the chat. You can email us and we can talk to you about that. Matthew, let's go to Matthew.
Hey, man, I'm out and about. No questions for me. Thank you, sir.
Okay, no questions? You got it. All right. Might be a short AMA today, but that's okay. As long as people are getting what they came for. All right, let me go back to our Zoomer, or not our Zoomers, our YouTubers. Let's see here. I heard of targeted individuals. I don't know what that means, so I can't really answer it there. Oh, so Lips of Hearts saying, I would love advice for the roadblock of losing body fat. I've been thin my entire life. Then I had my gallbladder removed and boom, 100 pounds. Okay, so this is going to be weird, but I like weird. So here's what's interesting from an energetic perspective. When you have an organ removed, the physical organ is missing, but the energetic shadow of it is still there, and so is the spiritual shadow. So what you can do, and you might need a little extra training for this, but what you can do is you can create an energy ball and program the energy ball to function like your original gallbladder that was removed, but better. Okay? And then once it's nice and strong and it's healthy and it's vibrant and it's going to help, you install it where the original gallbladder used to be, and you let it just kind of gel. You can let it melt. Now that's going to give you about 24 to 72 hours of change. I don't know what degree, I don't know for how long. But the problem is when you have an organ removed, if an acupuncturist were to take your pulse, for example, and they were feeling for your gallbladder pulse, because you have different pulses on the arms, because your physical gallbladder or your physical spleen or whatever, it would feel like it's excess. But when you put the energetic replacement in, it'll start to, theoretically, it will start to balance the fat metabolism function that the gallbladder was taking. Okay, that's what I was taught in my Chinese energetic medicine class. You can also go to an acupuncturist and have them harmonize your gallbladder and liver meridians to help metabolize fat better. You did probably also wind up tweaking your spleen energy a little bit as well. You can also, again, I don't know what kind of physical activities you enjoy, but absolutely do not, when your wood energy is out of balance, which is what the gallbladder is, right? On an energy on a Chinese medical level, when the wood energy is out of balance, movement tends to harmonize things. Gaining weight is what we call a yin excess, or an excess of earth, false earth in many cases. So what does that mean? You've got too much earth, not enough movement. The wood element breaks up the earth element. So if you can get more movement in your lifestyle, that will also help to break up a lot of the what we call dampness or earth, or not toxic, false earth accumulation in the body. Plus, there's all kinds of herbal formulas and things you can do. Now, notice what I didn't talk about here. Notice what I didn't talk about emotions, did I? Right? Because I've been teaching that for so long, I just automatically assume that if you're going to work on some of this stuff, you're going after the emotional issues surrounding the gallbladder first. But it goes without saying that you should always unpack and attack any emotional reasons why that gallbladder went south in the first place, right? So you're never going to go wrong cleaning up your emotional stuff. But if you need extra ways to bolster your wood element, then the energy ball every day until your gallbladder grows back, that's how I was told it, right? Will help to balance that out. Movement and really tonifying and harmonizing your wood element, which means, again, walking in nature, gazing at trees and just kind of vegging out and drawing energy in and circulating that through your body. Movement will help to break up the dampness accumulation. So again, I'm not diagnosing, I'm just giving you ways that you can think about how to harmonize this. You can also go to hypnosis, but again, if there's an energetic imbalance caused by a turbid, or a malfunctioning gallbladder or a removed gallbladder, then we have to look at other ways to bolster the psycho-emotional side of things. So hopefully that helps. So Karen says, my native language is Spanish, and I saw him before, like years ago, but I got a bit out of touch, so I'm a bit lost. Karen, what's your question, sweetie? If you don't want to ask it through the chat, through on video or audio, just type it. That's what I'm here for. Okay. All right, let me go back to, was that helpful, by the way? I hope. All right, let's see what else we got. So KN24 is asking, any techniques to get over heartbreak? Absolutely. If you want to get over heartbreak, there's 5 techniques that you can use right off the bat. A, magic frame. B, resistance removal protocol. C, energy spinning. D, color breathing, level 2 or 3. And then you can also use regress to cause. Okay, those 5 techniques will nuke just about any heartbreak. Okay, now keep in mind that when we're talking about getting over a heartbreak, heartbreaks are like any kind of loss. There's stages of grieving that we go through. And so the worst time to do any of these techniques is immediately after the breakup. It's still too fresh, right? You're usually when you're dealing with a post-breakup, the nervous system has too much arousal to actually pay attention and track the technique that you're using. So if you are in that state of overwhelm, it's better to have somebody else guide you through it. If you've ever heard me do the safe place induction, that's a great place to get your nervous system back to a state of calm. And then you can go into all these other cleanup techniques, right? But give yourself, when you go through a breakup, give yourself time to naturally process out the feelings. Because if you try to hurry that along, you're actually going to wind up locking more emotion in your body. Now, if the grief and the loss and the anger and the rage and the resentment and all that is persistent beyond a reasonable amount of time, and reasonable is a very subjective experience, I understand that, right? Then it's time to look at going back and digging in what's really the problem, because 99% of the time, what's really bugging you isn't the breakup that just happened. It's everything that the breakup that just happened is connected to way back in your past. But most people aren't ready to hear that. Because the hurt is too immediate, it's too acute, and the system needs to process out that energy. So give yourself some time. And here's the secret to this. If you're angry, if you're sad, if you're heartbroken, be angry, be sad, be heartbroken. Really lean into it. Go nuts without being in danger to yourself or other people. But be like an old Italian grandma. Just go. You know how they get, right? They have these hysterics, right? Why? Because we spend too much time trying to lock down those feelings, push them down, hurry through them without letting them fully be expressed. Anything you do to try to move through an emotion faster tends to lock emotion in your body. Okay? And that's on top of denial and apathy and internalization and all these other defense mechanisms that we go through to not feel things, right? The fastest, as the love guru likes to say, the only way out is in, right? When you're going through hell, keep going. But give yourself permission to feel and to not be okay with the breakup and feel all the feelings that you're feeling, because the only place a negative feeling can hurt you is where most of us have been keeping them for most of our lives. That's locked inside of us. Okay, nobody who's come to me in the 25 to 30 years that I've been seeing clients, nobody wound up in my chair because of things they were expressing, because of feelings they were letting go of. None of them. And that can be anything from an active shooter to a breakup, to rape trauma, to cult abuse, to, all kinds of chronic illness, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, muscular dystrophy, rheumatoid, lupus, COPD, all these things that showed up in my chair, right? All of them rooted in chronic memory, in negative memories and traumas, right? So again, if you want to be healthy, allow yourself to express, right? Do it in a safe, responsible way, but a way that allows you to fully express yourself in a way that hopefully is constructive. But even if it's just pure venting, allows you to get those emotions out of you so you can return to a more pleasant level of homeostasis. Because if you don't vent them, you will achieve homeostasis, but it will not be nearly as comfortable as you could be. Because if our regular level of calm or peace or balance is here, and we have something that jacks us up to here, right? And then we vent what we think is a reasonable amount, but we only get to here. Well, that becomes the new homeostasis. There's still a lot of shit between where you started and where you are now, but because it's not here anymore, you feel better. And that becomes your new normal. And that's how most people are. They're walking around up to here with locked in stress, rage, anger, grief, sadness, shame, envy, frustration. Pick a poison, because they're all poisons, right? They just haven't realized how much further their system could be at peace because they're locking things down and trying to distract themselves with their screens and with their Instagrams and their Facebooks and their video games, and anything that distracts you and keeps you from being present prevents you from accessing these emotions. Susan says, quit talking about my PTSD. I thought we fixed that.
We did, but we fixed that after 18 years.
Well, you had it for 18 years. I had it for 18
but
minutes.
I mean, you fixed it for, well, it was always weird to me. That came up hours into when we were working together.
Yeah, the unconscious mind doesn't need your permission to pull up a memory. It sees an opportunity for something. Go ahead.
It wasn't like the first thing or anything.
Right. Well, your unconscious mind, again, I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to theorize because it was a long time ago. But you got to remember, when you first come into a room with me, all you know is this dude in a vest you see on a YouTube video, right? You don't actually know what this guy's like, except from the console. So your unconscious mind is not a dummy. It's like, I'm gonna give this guy some other stuff, see how he handles it. Then I'll see if I want to give him the big stuff, right? So again, usually when people come in to the clinic, they have a couple of big Godzillas, but Godzilla's not the first thing that comes up. It's usually 3 or 4 level 3s or 4s or 5s, and then boom. Oh, because they have faith in the process now, right? It's not unusual. Every now and then you get someone who goes, they'll come into the clinic and you'll see a sign above their head that says abreaction waiting to happen, right? Because their unconscious mind is literally chomping at the bit to vent and get rid of this shit. Because that's part of its job. Most people don't realize that one of the jobs of your unconscious mind is to hold on to these memories until you go back inside and tell it what to do with it. But nobody tells you that. Nobody tells you how to go back in. They don't tell you you need to go back in, and you're left to figure it out. Which is why most people are just stuck on this treadmill of suffering that they're running desperately hither and yon to try and fix because they're looking in the wrong direction, right? Anyway, let me see here. Dave, welcome. What you got, Dave?
Okay. So I have an interesting question, I suppose.
Interesting question. This should be interesting. See what I did there?
So there's like, I guess you could call it a certain state. I've been paying a lot of attention to marketing lately.
Mhm.
I had a conversation with a guy who's made a lot of money online maybe like 2, 3 months ago. We were just having like a casual conversation, but he gave me some insights or whatever.
Mhm.
And after the fact, I kind of was thinking to myself, I know all this different stuff about marketing and conversion. I've had some success with it, but I don't really have like a very integrated system. I haven't really focused that much. I sort of see the marketing to some degree as like this, almost like a necessary thing that most of the time I don't want to deal with. Like I have this subconscious resistance to, sort of like I
Mhm.
have to force myself through it, basically.
Mhm.
It's like I'm doing it, but like when I'm learning it, I'm pretty open to it. But when I'm doing it in like an online marketing context, if I'm with people, it's a little easier because I'm just sort of in the flow. But when I'm doing it online, I can edit a million times and then I'm getting all this subconscious resistance. So I've been focusing more on the marketing stuff. And I've kind of leaned into this idea of that it's sort of like the marketing is sort of like a vibe, like what you're putting out, people resonate with, and then they can kind of decide to like you based off of that vibe. But when there's like this certain state that's like, I guess it's like sort of almost feels elusive. Like if I'm in deep trance and I do safe space, gray room, go to the garden, maybe do a deep trance induction, maybe not, whatever, but do all that different stuff. Sometimes I can tap into this kind of energy or whatever you would want to call it, maybe the state where I'm like, this is the vibe. Like this is the thing that would attract those people. But I can't exactly describe it. I can just feel it. And I only can tap into it very selectively when I'm not in deep trance and it's sort of random, like I don't have very much control over it. So I'm just curious, like going what's going on there, because it sort of feels like one of those things where I can't really control when I'm tapping into it, and when I'm just literally like, doing stuff with marketing, I can't necessarily tap into it. It's
Mhm.
it's easy to tap into when I'm in like a deep state of trance, but obviously I'm not doing any marketing, and even then it's hard to put into words exactly what it is. I just kind of like feel it. It's like I'm kind of in it and I'm like, "Oh, I get it. I understand it." Like this is that state that I'm kind of thinking is there, basically.
Mhm.
So what's kind of going on there, I guess, is the question.
Well, all performance is state dependent, just like all learning is state dependent. So you're going to have states where you are in what we call the zone or in a state of flow for a particular application. And if your body did it once, your body can do it again. All you have to do is remember what it was like, point to where you feel it, reach out, find the picture, turn it into a color, breathe it through your body, stand and breathe the way you were standing and breathing. And within a very few seconds, the state will start to come back.
So you're saying essentially to try to tap into that feeling when I'm in a conscious state
Have
by
you had state
pulling
control
back.
which of my trainings have you come to?
Uh, only identity by design.
Okay. So you have pillars of power, right?
Yes.
Okay. So feel the feeling, turn it into a color, do a pillars of power for the state you want, and then turn it into a trigger so you have it. And just step into the pillar whenever you want to access it.
So would I activate that while I'm in deep trance, but then have it like an anchor when I'm not in deep trance?
Well, first of all, setting it up presupposes you're not going to be in the trance you're trying to create first. You have to decide what you want and you have to do the elicitation. So what does it smell like? What does it taste like? What does it feel like? Where in my body do I feel it? Where's the picture outside of me? What makes it bigger and stronger and better, right? You use your proprioceptive grid to make the picture bigger. You amplify the state. You find the body location. You turn it into a color. You take it out. You find the direction that makes it better. You amplify the spin. You turn it into a pillar. Zoom. And now you do your pillars process. Then you turn the remaining piece into jewelry that you can trigger. And then you test it over and over and over again and make sure, and it should stack. If you're doing it properly, it should stack and get stronger every single time you do it.
So I basically have to be in that state already, but then once I'm in the state, then I can
No, you
elicit.
don't have to be in the state already. You're going to get into state by doing exactly what I just told you, and then you're going to anchor and lock that state in through your pillars technique. You don't have to be in any of the states you want to create, but you do have to be able to elicit them
Right.
and trigger them,
Right.
right? You have an end state, desired state, or present state, desired state. Every state that you want presupposes you don't already have it, or that you're not already in it. So
Right.
the question becomes, how do I get from this to that? Well, there's an elicitation process that I've taught you guys ad nauseum in every single training to get your state. In Identity by Design, it was pillars of power, right? In Killer Influence, it was the day and a half of state control training where you learn to step into any avatar that you want and operate from that place and build that into just shifting your physiology. There's different ways to get there, but the big piece is still the same. You have the state you're in, you have the state you want. How do you bridge it? And how do you make it consistently able to transition from one state to the other state and out again? There's bunches of ways to do that. I've given you lots of
Yeah.
ways to do that, right? And you have the core. You took Identity by Design almost 6 years ago.
Not that long ago, but well, actually, no, yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Because it was COVID.
Yeah.
I don't know when in COVID it was,
And I
but
know you have the videos.
what?
And I know you have the videos.
Which I got when I did the
Uh-huh.
and yeah. Um, I think the problem is that I I haven't spent that much time on getting into the state.
Mhm.
I mostly am just clearing states and then also like, oh, let's bring in a good state. Like I kind of clear and then, maybe I'll do resilience, victory, playful, or whatever
Mhm.
else. But I haven't spent as much time like getting into specific states and eliciting getting into specific states that are positive
Mhm.
states or amplifying those
Mhm.
states.
The name of the course is Identity by Design for a
Yes.
reason.
Well, I think I still have been leveraging it in that power, but
Yeah.
um
But I think you might be starting to realize there's a whole lot more juice in there that maybe you were tapping into.
yeah, maybe. I mean, I yeah, I don't know. I haven't at this point I do like I will say I do when I wake up I do a meditation.
Mhm.
Sometimes I only do like 10, 20 minutes, but sometimes it'll be like, an hour or 2 hours or
Mhm.
something. But
Mhm.
as long as I'm doing that every day, I'm feeling mostly pretty like aligned,
What's the purpose of your meditation? If I can ask.
clear the crap and
Okay.
get mostly trying to sort of when I don't do it consistently, I feel more scattered. It's harder to stay
For
focused
sure.
and be like integrated and aligned and also acting sort of, for lack of a better way to say it, maybe like in faith as opposed to
Mhm.
in fear. basically.
Mhm. I understand.
Um, so
And clearing is step one. But then the question becomes, what do you want instead? Right? We're
yeah,
always going to have crap to clear, but if we're not able to design a life or a version of ourselves that makes us happy, and we're just relegated to clearing out the crap, we never really get to move forward as much as we could, right? Go back and review your identity by design system. Look specifically at the transformational triad, right? Look at the pillars of power and decide if I could build any state I want and have it on demand, what state would I want that to be? And on paper, outline an entire pillars process so you know exactly what you're going for, and then just install it. And then just use it
okay.
over and over again. You have the knowledge to do that.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I mean, for sure.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you. Also, Renee had a question. She said she couldn't be here. I'll I'll just say it very briefly, but basically her question was, when you're asking the subconscious, is it possible to give an answer based on survival instead of an honest answer?
Is it possible to give an answer based on survival instead of an honest answer?
I
I'm
think
not
she's
sure I understand the question.
I she was asking about the pendulum and reading the subconscious. I think her
Okay.
question was basically like when she's listening for the gut feeling. Maybe
Yeah.
I'm
Well, the
misinterpreting.
problem that people have with pendulums and any form of extension device is that there's the answer the unconscious mind is predisposed to give, and then there's the one we're encouraging it to give. For example,
Right.
if there's something I want to answer a certain way, emotionally, I'm going to ask the unconscious mind a yes or no question, right? And I test my pendulum, show me yes, show me no, show me I don't know, right? So I test that. But the question that I'm asking, I have an emotional charge for, towards or away from.
Right.
My unconscious mind will read that emotional charge and give me the answer that is in harmony with my emotional direction. That's why I don't do kinesiology, and that's why I don't spend a lot of time um, teaching people about how to do ideomotor signaling with a pendulum until we have really strong, thorough state control. Because if you go into those processes with an emotional need for the answer to be a certain way, it will overwrite the impulse the unconscious mind has to tell you the truth, and it will tell you what you want to hear.
Yeah.
But it'll almost always come up with either no movement or you'll have this impulse of something, you won't like it, and then it'll move the other way because
Yeah.
your brain reads the
Yeah.
emotion.
That makes sense. I feel like I've said quite a bit about how I've been sort of practicing my intuition, so to speak. And I feel like a lot of times I'm like, oh, my gut says do this. Doesn't
Mhm.
necessarily make logical sense, but like that's the thing I'm pulled
Yeah.
towards. And a lot of times it works out really well. But then there are other times that it's harder to decipher,
Yeah.
is that really my gut, or is that just like kind of
And
like
most of the time,
sort of a
though,
response?
most of the time, it'll be times when you have an emotion and an investment an investment in the outcome. You're emotionally drawn to an answer that's usually in conflict with what the gut is when it tell you. One of the things you'll notice if you stop and pay attention, many times when your intuition answers, the feeling comes from one part of your body, and when you're confusing an emotional desire for an answer, it'll come from a different part of your body.
Got it.
Right? And again, what you'll see when real intuition manifests, and there's three types of intuition that human beings have. They have kinesthetic intuition, empathic intuition, and intellectual or intuitive perceptions, right? Most of us are very gut oriented. And so there will always, when it comes from the gut, it will have a much, for me at least, it has a much lighter feel to it. Whereas if there's a strong emotion attached to it, there'll be more density. There'll be a heat to it. That's not always there. But what you have to do is you have to calibrate that because most people confuse one type of intuition for something else, right? The same thing happens when we're talking about like NLP had a process they came out with many, many years ago called good decision, bad decision. Think of a time when you needed to make a decision, you made a decision, it felt right, and it was right. Point to where you feel that, reach out and touch that space. Now think of a time when you thought a decision was a good idea, and you made the decision and it was a bad decision. Point to where you feel that. Where on space is it? So now you have two different locations. Now you take the decision that you have to make, you point to where you feel it, and you move it into that area. Notice how it feels. Move it to that area. Notice how it feels, and figure out and see which one it flows into easier. If it flows easier into the bad decision zone, then it's a bad decision. If it flows easier into the good decision space, it's a good decision. And again, this is another way that your nervous system will calibrate this kind of information.
Okay. Makes sense.
Mhm.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to, let me jump back to our YouTubers and see if there's any interesting questions out there. Okay, wondering about states and if it's actually necessary to remove blockages, because if I embody a state in which I have everything I like and love, that state doesn't have the blockages. Theoretically, that's true if you can maintain the state, but most states are transient at best. I feel like this is my issue. Also, can you do the things you need to do from that state? It's one thing to create a state where you don't feel blocked, but does the state maintain itself when you start to take action in the physical world? If your state shifts under pressure, then it needs more work. And that's usually going to be a result of clearing and practice. If you want a new identity, you have to rehearse it. But it also means you have to go in and you have to clean up the things that are holding the old version of yourself in place, right? If you can get into a state where you're free of blockages and you can maintain that state while you're moving forward, then you should be fine. The question becomes what happens when that state shifts, which it inevitably will, right? As long as you can continue moving forward, you're fine, right? And I encourage people to move forward until they run into something that stops them, and then fix it and then keep moving forward. Let's see here. Let's scroll all the way down to see what's most recent. Okay, okay, so she posted the same question. Okay. Why do humans forget about the power we have repeatedly? For many reasons. For many, many reasons. One is that we're constantly being told we don't have any power, right? The other is that we get distracted, right? There's a lot of noise in our world right now that's keeping us from really tapping into the still quiet power that resides inside of us. And the powers that be in this universe are very, very invested in keeping everything noisy, so you don't have time to find the power inside of you. Our job is to help you find your way back. So Kiman is asking, David, I'm curious, what questions would you love people to ask more in AMAs? What oil well are we not tapping into? You guys are doing pretty good so far. You know, you guys are kind of covering the spectrum. I look at, you know, where do you guys need the most help? You know, I love when you guys post your comments. I love when you guys post questions, because the better the questions you post, the better the content I can create for you. My whole mission in life is to solve problems, to show people how to use their own mind, body, and energy and spirit to transform everything about their lives. Sometimes that's about getting rid of something old. Sometimes it's about creating something new, right? Not that woo-woo today. Well, no, I think I take pride in the fact that even our woo stuff is really practical and down to earth, right? Because to me, they're just extensions of the same nervous system. Whether you're doing spiritual work, energy work, hypnosis, NLP, ballet dancing, crocheting, basket weaving, driving a truck, writing a novel, it's all the same nervous system. It's the same nervous system doing it, guys. If you master that crossroads, you can go anywhere you can drive anywhere with that vehicle. And that's the beauty of it, right? The things I'm discovering, and you know, the more I learn, the less I know. Jules, Earth Nurse, it's Jules from Brooklyn, Lost Contacts and Channels. Well, I'm glad you're back. Keeman says, sorry for swearing. Why are you fucking sorry for swearing? I do it all the time. Not nearly as much as I used to. And don't you think I miss it? Right? Somewhere along the line, I got tame. We got to fix that shit. Jules says, I love the so-called woogie woo. There's a new one I haven't heard in a while. All right. See if there's any connections. I think looks like I got most of them. If there's a question that you had that I didn't see, please post it again. By the way, in case you didn't notice, I actually posted the Zoom link in the chat. So if you guys want to jump in and actually talk to me instead of typing at me, you're more than welcome to do that, right? Again, normally these aren't available to the general public, but for those of you who like the intimacy and the one-on-one, there is the platinum level on our YouTube channel is where you can go to join these. We do these. We try to do these at least twice a month, where it's just a small group of us getting together to just shoot the shit and ask questions and stuff like that. And if you want to actually get hands-on mentoring and group mentoring, we have a diamond level or platinum level, I think. No, diamond level was where you actually get the 6-hour masterminds on the third Saturday of every month. So if you want more interaction, go ahead and join the channel at the subscriber level or beyond at the paid level, and you can come play. All right, I don't see any more questions. Wait, let me look at the chat here. All righty. Could you tell us what mindfulness Systema? Christine, you want to pop on and explain your question?
Yeah. I think at one point you had talked about mindfulness with Systema
Mm-hmm.
in connection with each other, and I don't remember where you said it, but I put it down as something that I wanted to understand or know,
Mm-hmm.
or what is it, or is it just going into quiescence? And
No, Systema is a very active practice. In classic mindfulness, you're basically finding something that you want that's been holding you back or a problem that's stressing you out, and you're gently holding it in your mind or in your hand, and you're just being present with it, and you're just allowing your consciousness to seep through it and to experience it fully. And because consciousness has what we call an anti-chaotic phenomenon. In other words, when I focus on something energetically, it starts to gain energy and it starts to transform because it gains energy. It unfreezes the light that's made out of. And that's why mindfulness works, because as that cluster of energy in your body is released and you feel those emotions, it leaves and it doesn't come back. And so think of it like melting ice, right? Systema approaches that same idea. But what they're doing now with the training and the things that they're doing is they're integrating the mind, body, and breath in such a way that you are completely quiet and present in combat. Combat mindfulness, as I call it, is what they train during.
maybe that's what's the thing I meant, but
Yeah.
all I could do is get so much down on the question,
So
and didn't know where to take it from there.
Yeah. So the idea is that in Systema, we want to be able to go into something that we want to transform, but we need to do it while we're being active or while we're involved in something that we can't sit and contemplate our navels. So one of the things that Systema likes to teach you how to do is learn how to accept force. And that's where a lot of the ground flow and the doing push-ups on another person and having other people do push-ups on you and learning how to have a knife against your neck and relax into that and feel and be able to not be triggered by that. That anti-fear training is to get that energy out of your body. But then the idea is when you find a fear or an emotion or a pain that is holding you back or limiting you, you can move your mind into it, grab it with your breath, and spit it out of your body. And so when you link the consciousness with the breath, and you can move your mind into a certain location. Any place you can move your mind to and breathe from, you can influence that part of your body. And so to get there, you have to know how to integrate the mind and the breath. And so that's what I call combat mindfulness, because it's really about being fully present, but in a state of flow. And if you need to remove something from your body, you can reach into it with your mind, grab it and spit it out with your breath. And so we've several videos where we've shown, the finger locking or the wrist locks or the shoulder where people are twisting my arm or bending my finger, and I breathe the pain and the fear out of my body, right? So this is what I call combat mindfulness, because it really does allow us to operate in a very spiritually aware state. And the more time you spend there, the more profound your perceptions become. But that, I think, is what you're referring to.
Okay. Yeah, I just could have written down the wrong thing. It was sort of an interesting concept. I'm like, let's want to know a little more about that. Maybe it's something, got it. Thank you, David.
You're welcome. You're welcome. All right, let's go to Namisha's asking, is it true that suppressing your emotions causes memory loss? It can. It can. One of the things that I see a lot with people who are suffering from trauma, which is almost always some form of repressed memory, is they actually do lose their ability to recall things. Now, a lot of that is because there's so much going on in the brain, you can't access the memories because most memories are state dependent. Or you have recurring thoughts that block other thoughts from coming up. But certainly things like when I was getting my training in hypnotherapy and energy psychology, and things like that, a lot of your Alzheimer's and dementia, they're usually forms of living suicide. In other words, a person's so unhappy with their life, they start to kind of cannibalize their own mind so they can live in the past. And so my teacher Lillian taught me that many, many years ago, is that many of these people, it's a form of suicide without actually killing yourself. So, Jax.
Had my screen too far over. Quick question, since we were talking about weight and that kind of stuff. I have been not eating hardly any carbs except what I need to keep my blood sugar up. No sugar, no garbage food. I don't eat out. I eat a lot of vegetables, fruit, and a little bit of meat about 4 times a week. I'm still gaining weight. I probably need more fats in my diet, but I cannot figure out and part of it I know is exercise. The problem I'm having is the medication that I'm having to take, which I've talked to the doctor about it multiple times, and he won't take me off of it. I thought about quitting it, but I don't know if I really need it or not. But it's causing problems with the muscles in my body. So walking has been very difficult at best. And I'm trying to do some weightlifting, that kind of thing. But lately I've just been feeling like I'm swelling up like a balloon. I'm not gaining weight.
You're not gaining weight?
I'm not gaining weight. A lot, sort of. Most of it's swelling.
Okay.
I don't know how to get that down. And I drink 3-4 of these a day. I've been craving stuff like tangerines and tangerine skins. I chew on lemon bark, or not lemon, but cinnamon bark, and squash seeds, pumpkin seeds, that kind of thing. Those are my treats, along with fresh fruit. That's it. I don't know.
Sounds like you're asking me for a diagnosis or a prescription there, Jax.
Well, no, I'm just wondering how I can forward my weight loss being in a wheelchair as well. I mean, I'm doing everything right. and I haven't lost any weight per se. I mean, I've been at 290 for months. I don't know what to do.
Well, first of all, if the weight gain is a side effect from the medication, then diet and exercise is not going to put a huge dent in that,
Okay.
especially because you're in a wheelchair, right? So the things the things you need to focus on, and it's based on the assumption that your doctor's not willing to change medications or prescribe other things to buffer that or whatever, then you need to focus more on purging and purifying the toxicity from the body. So I would go to your image cycling, and I would start image cycling and start charging a shit ton of water for exactly what you want to happen, and drink that water throughout the day from now on.
Okay. Would it help to add the hydrogenated water to it?
The better quality water, the better your body's going to like it. But a charge is a charge as far as a Bankston system's concerned.
Because I've been using hydrogenated
Yeah.
water.
Also, charge cotton. Put it over the areas you want to change.
Oh, yes. Okay. All right.
Yeah. Image cycling is kind of like when you don't know what to do, spin it, frame it, color breathe it, and spin and cycle it.
Okay.
And those will usually get you some kind of movement.
All right. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. All right. You see if there's any more YouTubers. Let's see. Pressure points help massage the feet. There's so many things you can do. Yeah. Again, everything works for somebody. Nothing works on everybody. Ego death is amazing. Yes, it does. Sounds like heaven's dream. All right. I think that looks like all. Wait, let me see here. What if something is on purpose and malicious manipulation of power? Okay, Jules, is there another part to that question that I'm missing? Best process for addictions. Yulara, if you're still on, the best process for addictions is what I start everybody off with. Magic frame, spinning, energy spinning, and color breathing. Those particular techniques have been extraordinarily helpful with people dealing with any form of addiction or with addiction withdrawal symptoms. Anything beyond that would need to be done in a clinical setting. Also, image cycling will help a lot, but you got to know how to image cycle. Dave.
There we go. How do I get rid of my, there we go. So I'm curious, like, okay, so I think that one of the things that I've struggled with a bit throughout the years is I hate feeling constrained, basically. And when I look at your content and the stuff that you do, I feel like you're just like you have stuff that's just basically all over the place. I mean, you've got dating, and then you've got influence, and then you've got karate, and then you've got energy and all this stuff. And it's all connected in some sort of way. It's cohesive. So it doesn't feel like you're being ADD or anything like that. But Renee was saying something the other day about, like she wants to niche down, but she doesn't know which way to niche down. And I feel like I see a sort of a mirror in myself of I always feel like I need to pick a lane, so to speak, but I don't want to pick a lane. And it's hard.
Yeah, that's normal.
And so what's the proper way to look at it? Like, can I just, it's not like I don't want to like feel like I'm being ADD or look like I'm being ADD. It still should be cohesive. But I feel like you're a good example of you don't need to have a narrow niche, basically, and you can still win online.
Here's something again, and now I'm gonna tell you the truth.
Okay.
I am not a great example of someone you should model.
Okay.
Because in a lot of ways I break a lot of rules. Okay. But when I give you advice about picking a niche and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
I did actually start there. I started my entire online career with one product, David. One.
Which was
In the
in
in
the
the set in the
attraction niche?
section in the sexuality niche. It was secret orgasm tips. And it was a
Okay.
best-selling program for better part of a decade. And it wasn't until 4 or 5 years later that I came out with a product that wasn't in that niche, and that was Stealth, Instant Conversational Hypnosis Crash Course. And my Secret Orgasm Tips program still outperformed that. Honestly, if I had not ventured into other things, I don't know what my life would be like now. I'm glad my life took the direction it did, but for many years, that was the only lane I was in. Was I studying all these other things? Some of them I were. Was I making them a business? No.
Okay.
Because as I started to evolve as a person, as a business person, as a teacher, and I started getting interested in these other things, people started getting pulled into my world who were more and more either like me or wanting to be like me. So the more people that you pull into your lane or your funnel that are like you, the greater the chance that something else that you're interested in, they will also be interested in. And so what happened for me was just this idea of wanting to just share everything that I was experiencing. And because I would mention them during like trainings and stuff like that, I would mention energy work, or I would mention illuminescence, or I would mention face reading, or I would mention NLP, or I would mention these other things that I'm doing, right? And people go, "Oh, that sounds interesting. Tell me more about that." Or I would insert a technique from another discipline into something I was currently doing. And people would be like, "Oh my God, that's so amazing." And they'd want to know more. And I'd tell them more. And before I know it, they would talk me into doing trainings. Right. So what you see on my channel, right, is the result of starting in one space and then gently finding parallels or branches off of that niche. So everything for me started in the sexuality niche. I was not one of the, I was ranked as one of the attraction experts, but really I was the sex coach guy. I was the guy to teach you how to make your partner the happiest, most satisfied person on the planet after knowing them for an hour, right? That was kind of what I was really good at reading people's unconscious signals and teaching other people how to read them and give them back in a very fulfilling way. And that was the program that launched everything. Was it NLP? Yes. Was it the echo technique? Yes. Was I calling it that? No. Because it was an application and a result of all the other trainings that I had done for that particular lane, as you put it. But as I went through my process, I started getting interested in other things. I would talk about them at classes, or people would ask me about something and I would answer, and other people would respond positively, and I followed that. Right? It had to be something I was passionate about or interested in, and something that people found relevant. But mostly because I was always trying to be better at the lane I was in, I was always studying other things to try and make what I was currently doing better. That's why I have this freaking hairline, right? This extrapolative hairline and this integrative spot on my forehead, right? And so I'm always looking for ways to make what I'm doing better. But part of that process is studying and learning all these other disciplines, looking for where they enhance or where they distract. And every now and then I would talk about one of those studies, bring in a technique, show them where it came from, and people would want to know more. And the one I talk about most for you guys is vibrational influence. The whole energy curriculum that I have now has exploded beyond anything I ever intended for it to be. Christine is probably the only one that remembers, but because she came along, I think like 2015 or 2016 or something like that. But from like 2010 really, to 2013 or 14, I taught one energy class a year. And I never talked about spirituality. to an NLP group or a hypnosis group or a sexuality group. I didn't talk about that stuff. I was practicing it. I was studying. I never talked about it. Why? Because it was personal for me. It was something that I didn't want to put out there. A, because the field of energetics is full of charlatans. It's easy to masquerade energetics for hypnosis for energetics. Super easy, right? Very few people out there that can actually demonstrate real phenomena on demand. And that's what I demand in the energetics that I teach. You can either do it or you can't, right? But I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to bring it out into the open because it was for me. But the universe, and I would talk about energy this and Reiki that, and you could just see the light bulbs going off because people who are interested in persuasion and influence and even dating and attraction, believe it or not, they're fascinated by energy, spirituality, mind power, the whole thing. It's a parallel, right? They're fascinated by it. You can't escape it. So I have to teach these things because it's part of my journey and people love what they're getting on that journey. You've been around for how long have you been around?
I don't know.
Right?
I think I think I've been a part of the AMAs for 6 years.
Yeah.
But then you were saying I was in the Identity by Design 6 years. I mean, it was roughly around the same time because I don't think I joined the AMAs till after COVID.
Yeah. You would show up when I would do the public AMAs because we hadn't launched the private channel. But my point is that if you go back to my early YouTube videos, the topics I'm talking about are very narrow. They're very specific. It's only as the years go by that I start expanding outward. But if you look at things like body language and lie detection, you don't hear anything about face reading until those videos show up.
Gotcha.
Right? That's how I've evolved. But what you guys see is you see the end result of that journey. You don't see where I started. Right?
I came in on NLP because I was watching Richard Bandler videos and you were recommended and I was in pain and you had a spin your pain away video, instantly remove pain, something, whatever. And I thought that you sounded like bullshit because you said you had like 15 martial arts degrees or something. And I just thought you sounded like bullshit, but you sounded believable enough that I figured I would try what you were saying. And then it worked. And then I thought, well, that's really strange. So then,
welcome to my world, brother.
Yeah. And then you did a live AMA like this one, or you were public. And then I asked you a question and you said, oh, in our private, we have this video and you might like that. And then I joined the AMAs and then you said a whole bunch of spiritual stuff. I didn't show my face or talk for the first several months, I think, or at least weeks. And you were talking about a bunch of stuff that was way outside my pay grade. And I just chose to ignore most of that stuff because I didn't know what the hell you were talking about, but I picked up what I could. And then eventually I started to, make some sense of it. So,
and that's the whole point is many times, and that's something that I've had to contend with for most of my career. First of all, most people don't understand the difference between actually being able to do something and being able to do it in a showy way. In other words, showmanship counts for a lot, right? I was very lucky to hang out with people who regularly did the impossible, who were the best, the absolute best at what they did, but they could do it in a showmanship kind of a way. And I got the best of both worlds. And so I am showy. And I do make very, very provocative claims, but I don't make claims I can't back up. And that's why, and exactly what you said is what the vast majority of people who see my stuff, that's exactly what they say. He seems like he's full of shit, but, and then they do something and it works. And it's like, holy shit, Batman. Yeah. and that's okay. Yeah. That's okay because, again, if something I say or do offends you, then you're not my customer, right? I'm not trying to appeal to everyone. I'd love to be able to appeal to everyone, but that's the fastest way to appeal to nobody. And that's one of the reasons why you're having trouble niching is because you want to help, you want everybody to buy your stuff, but that's not how marketing works. Marketing is about finding the exact people who want to buy your stuff and talking only to those people until you've exhausted that population and you need to look for another population, right? And once you've established one funnel, you only need one funnel to be a millionaire. You don't need 27 product lines like I have. In fact, that can often work against you. What you need is one successful one that you're intimate enough with and have a relationship with that audience that you know what they want, what they need, so you know what to create for them next. And everything you do will evolve from that. But if you run out there trying to I can do this, and I can do this, and I can do this, and I can do this, you're going to just keep reinvent. You're going to have 37 half-done funnels, right? Create one funnel, one vertical, make it successful or not, then go on to a different funnel or a different niche, right? And to throw Renee under the bus, even though she's not here, she has a niche. She's just not sure she wants to go there. Because I helped her set up her website. I know exactly what her niche is. She just needs to pull the trigger. I love Renee to death. And by the way, that's normal. That fear is normal for all fledgling marketers. A lot of people don't know this, but I owned the meetup space in San Diego for better part of a decade. Like I was the top meetup guy around. And so I ran a lot of my own meetups, but I was also assistant organizers for other people's meetups. And one of those meetups was the San Diego Internet Marketing Meetup. It was the largest meetup in San Diego. I regularly guided and tutored people and helped them build their internet business. Like everything from how to pick a niche to how to set up an autoresponder, you name it, I did it, right? I wasn't a programmer. I was the kind of a marketing consultant. This is what you need to do next kind of a guy. But I did that for free because, and so what you're talking about, it doesn't change. The technology doesn't matter. The mindset is what matters, right? Pick a niche and work it. Along the way, you're going to learn what works for that niche and what doesn't. And that niche, the people in that niche, the people who raise their hands, say, I like this guy, I want to work with that guy, or I like that woman, and I like what she's teaching, and I want more of what she's got. They're going to ask questions, and those questions are going to tell you what to give them next, what problem they need to solve next. But if you're constantly worried about not talking to this group over here or not talking to that group over there, you're never going to talk to the people who actually need you the most, which is the one right in front of you, the one you've done the hardest work to isolate and identify and build towards. Okay? You're not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. You're just new. That's it.
And a little bit of ADD.
Well, that's okay. I have it too. I have it too. It's again, what do I need to do today? You do that. What do I need to do next? And that's your day. What do I need to do right now?
Yeah.
Okay, that's done. What do I need to do next? Boom. That's all the planning you need.
Fair enough.
Okay. Kim.
Unmute. There we go. Hey, so that's very timely because I am taking a course with Onik and his friend Jason Fladlian about how to create a webinar and how to pick a specific target audience rather than, trying to be the master of all. And so I appreciate that because that just kind of reinforces what they're saying. And I have to say that as I watched his webinar, the pre-game thing, it's a lot like your stuff online. I don't know if you trained him or he trained you.
I remember I was studying Jason's stuff in the early 2004, 2005, when he was still a punk kid teaming up with Robert Plank. And I remember when he started Rapid Crush, I watched this guy grow from an ex-groupie hippie rapper, or what was that? It was a Hare Krishna rapper dude, and become the #1 webinar guy in the world. I've watched him. He's an inspiration, but he's also a machine. So you have to be careful because he has a grasp of NLP that would terrify most people.
Well, I like that because he's introducing some of that as we go through the different prompts and the different steps. And it's like, I feel like I'm maybe ahead of some of the other people in the group because I already get that part. But it's amazing how much he is just like you, and how, like with you, the first time I watched your webinar, I instantly bought it. And then later you're thinking, that thing must have hypnotized me because I would not have bought that for $3,000 on Chinese face reading.
Yeah.
But now he's gone through the same thing, and I joined his webinar, and I'm really excited because I'm going to apply it towards real estate and, try to follow his advice.
That's the beauty of Jason's system is the content really doesn't matter. It's the structure of what he's teaching you, right?
Yeah.
And he's of all the people out there, he's the guy that everybody's going to now. But I remember when he was selling products for $10.
Yeah, no, it's $150,000 if you want him to create your webinar.
Oh yeah.
So I'm gonna have to do my own. But anyway, yeah. So moving along, I wanted to talk about something else, which is my daughter bought me a grounding mat for Christmas.
Fantastic.
And I've been using it a lot, and it's good, except for I feel like sometimes maybe I overuse it and I wake up and I'm feeling stiff or whatever. But I wonder what your thoughts are about using a grounding mat, like during pulling down the heavens when we're already trying
I think that would be
ground.
excellent. I think that would be excellent.
Okay, good. All right.
All right. Alan, you're up.
Hey, David, how's it going?
Good.
Recently moved across states to Pacific Beach, so
right on.
Interested in any live stuff you're doing. I see you've got a subconscious bioenergetic event coming up. That looks pretty cool. Interested in anything outside of that if you're still doing like free meetups or stuff like that. And also
I've been toying with the idea of reactivating my meetups here in San Diego. The problem now is that the psychology of people has changed so radically that meetup is mostly meetups that happen in real life are very, very small and very, very not successful because people are so used to doing everything online. So much so that Meetup actually had to create a whole online meetup platform because that was the only place they could stay in business from my perspective. I would love to do more live events here in San Diego because I'm always happiest in front of a live audience. I love you guys on my virtual, don't get me wrong, but there's nothing like being in a room full of live human beings with beating hearts and just feeling that energy and really doing the programming and doing the drills and really getting that feedback and that transfer of information. So right now, there's nothing pending. I have been noodling the idea now for the last 2 weeks of maybe throwing 1 or 2 meetups out there a month, live and in person, and seeing what we get. But nothing concrete yet. So, but if you have joined the meetup groups, then when I decide to set one, Meetup will notify you automatically. I'll probably also start sending out email blasts and putting stuff on the members channel. I would highly recommend for all of you, if you haven't joined our actual newsletter on nlppower.com, head over there and get on our mailing list so you guys can get involved in some of the really cool stuff that we've got going on that we don't talk about necessarily on the channel. We don't talk about a lot of the events and things like that to our subscriber base like we should, mostly because we're focused on the website and everything else. YouTube for me started out as just something fun to do with all the videos I'd collected. You guys made it what it is because I just was looking for I was looking for something to do with this content. Turns out everybody loved it, right? And this is another reason why a lot of people think that I started off doing all these things at the same time and being successful. It's not true. I got in the habit many, many years ago of recording every single class I teach, and whenever possible, recording every single class I take. So my archive is massive. And I looked at my archive back in 2009 to 2012. So I always kept telling myself I was going to make products out of this, and I haven't. So I'll just load them up for YouTube for free, and people can do whatever they want with them. 3 weeks later, I got 5,000 subscribers. I don't know where they came from, right? And the rest is history. But that's really what really started making us people getting known was just Facebook and YouTube and the traffic back and forth. But it all started with meetups, and there will always be a place in my heart for meetup.com and that live event, because that's where I really learned the showmanship aspect and how to present to people who don't have any technical background in any of the things that I'm doing. How do I communicate to these methods to them so that they can solve their own problems? Right? That was my school, the one that really taught me how to communicate in a way that kept your attention. Right? So yeah, the short answer is nothing planned, but I would like very much, if it were possible, to restart those meetups again. I wouldn't mind getting out of the house a little bit more. That's
Got
for
it.
sure.
Thank you. Definitely looking forward to that. Maybe I'll see you at the event coming up soon.
I hope
And then
so.
I
Go
think
ahead.
one last question I had was, it looks like you're at like a practice in Encinitas, I think, with like a couple other people doing different things, I think, or something like that.
My wife and I have a clinic in Solana Beach.
Oh, Solana Beach, yeah. And then there's like a couple other people in there, like acupuncture and stuff like that. You'd
Yeah.
recommend that, or like what?
Oh yeah, my wife is brilliant. She's
Okay.
amazing. She's smarter than me. Just ask Kim.
All right, cool. I'll have to check that out more. I'll probably come see you guys up there as well. Thank you.
Yeah, stay tuned. And like I said, I'm going to be doing a lot. I'm kind of opening the doors to my energy training, my energy schools, and stuff like that. So we're going to be doing a lot more of the energetic, but it's going to be an extension of everything we've already done, because everything I'm going to teach you is something you add or overlay onto the existing technologies to make them more powerful and more effective, and give you access to greater degrees of ability. And I don't know what that's going to look like 5, 6, 7 years from now, but I know what I want to do with it. And I want to make energy work something that's a little bit more respected, as well as a lot more consistent and less wooey. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Let me jump to our chat here. Jules says, I love your advice, David. Well, I love that you love my advice, Jules. Let's see here. Best source is Bankston's book. Okay, they're talking about the energy cure. How do you select your path? There are so many different lanes. To me, guys, and this is as weird as it sounds, it's going to sound weird. I teach face reading. I teach martial arts. I teach NLP. I teach hypnosis. I teach like 7 different energy schools. I'm a doctorate in medical Qigong. I have a doctorate in acupuncture and Oriental medicine, right? To me, it's all the same. Everything in my life started out as a way to get better at martial arts. And I just kept adding things to it and expanding what I could do with the technologies until I could do it everywhere. So to me, what I'm doing with you right now is martial arts to me. That's because that's where I started. That's what got me moving in this direction. The fact that my art has expanded beyond the scope of simple self-defense or combat or sport karate or cultivation or whatever, that's not the point. But that's how I organize it. If that makes any, to me, it's all influence and communication, right? Because that's all martial arts really is. It's just another form of influence and communication. So Agnes is asking, also, she's not asking us a question. So Jules is saying, when someone talks about anything negatively frequently and from close proximity, what can the other side do to withstand what they can't avoid? Okay. So the first thing to understand is you've got to clean up your own stuff, right? In my advanced trainings, like how many people here are familiar, by show of hands in the chat, how many people here are familiar with my Defense Against the Dark Arts course? Right? Defense Against the Dark Arts of Hypnosis and Influence. It's counter manipulation. Well, you need to understand that another way of saying that is psychic attack. Everything in Defense Against the Dark Arts, even though we're talking about body language and hypnotic language patterns and reframing and lie detection and the different red flags that people have. People were asking about the 21 different conversational red flags that narcissists and sociopaths and other types of persuasion predators utilize. All of those things are a form of psychic attack. Okay? Any attempt at influence that you didn't ask for, that takes you from the feeling you're in into another feeling that you didn't want to feel, is a psychic attack. Now, psychic attacks start there, and they get progressively more insidious, and they get progressively more subtle. And so the thing to remember is that regardless of whether it's a very obvious psychic attack, like the things that we teach you in Defense Against the Dark Arts, like, gaslighting and future promising and hoovering and all the other different things, they can't affect you if you're emotionally clean. They can't affect you if you're emotionally stable. So the fastest, most effective way to nullify the effects of any level of psychic attack, whether it be through language patterns, gaslighting, deception, bullying, the fastest way to inoculate yourself and to make yourself more resistant to it is to clean up your own traumas, your own garbage, your own shit, your own limiting beliefs and negative past programming. Because that is what these entities, whether it's a person or something else, is looking, that's the way they get in. Once they get into your system and they start poking the bear, they get you feeling a certain way. And once you start getting, once those feelings get to a certain level of intensity, your conscious mind checks out and you become an animal. And you respond in animalistic fashion. And animals are very predictable. Okay? So the first thing that has to happen is you got to clean up your stuff. And then what happens is as you go through that process of cleaning up your stuff, the things that people say outside of you will have less and less and less impact on you. The less impact they have on you, the harder they have to work to get to you, until eventually they don't matter anymore. The other side of that equation, and this is really only true if you believe in a higher power. If you believe in a higher power, then the more deeply you can create a relationship with that higher power and bring that rapport into your body and really embody those traits and qualities, combined with clearing up your stuff, the harder and harder it is for the predators to even notice you. Because most predators are basically looking for a food source, right? Either energetically or through your resources, your body, your money, what have you. And as you develop your senses and you become more embodied spiritually, and that it doesn't necessarily mean that you're talking about pearly gate spirit. We're talking about an integration of your mind and thoughts, your physical body and your emotions in a very harmonious way. Coherence is the modern term for it. If you're in a state of coherence and somebody around you is not in that state or is vibrating at a lower frequency because they have an agenda, you will feel a profound sense of discomfort when they get near you, which will set off all kinds of red flags. And so you will tend to avoid those people because of how they make you feel. But the interesting part about that is once you reach a certain level of that, the predators actually stop noticing you too, because you're vibrating for all intents and purposes outside their frequency range. They can't access you as easily, right? And it's really fascinating. Some of the more covert and more hidden, the more quantum physics based energy schools are actually showing how to develop your nervous system in a very powerful way for that to be truer faster. But those are the two big things that you have to do. Is you have to clean up your traumas, you have to clean up your negative past programming that are locked in your body, and create a relationship with what you conceive of as a higher power and embody those traits. Everything else after that makes any tool that you apply in terms of protecting yourself exponentially more powerful. But a lot of times you won't need to deploy those things because they can't influence you in the way they used to anyway. Okay. So again, there's a cohesion to the things that we teach you, but a lot of it comes down to cleaning up your shit. Think about how many times a person asks me a question and the words clean up your shit comes out, right? And that's even when I teach things like law of attraction and manifestation and stuff like that. I give them, you want to clean up shit or you want to manifest something you want? 80% of the time, they just want to clean up shit. Why? Because that's the work. As you clean up all that stuff, the ability of your nervous system to interface with the quantum universe expands and increases, and things you want will just start to happen automatically. And that's where it gets dangerous too, because then you have to be careful what you wish for, what you intend, or what you say, because you'll create a chain reaction in the quantum field, and things will change, or you'll influence somebody in a way you weren't intending. Right? It's a high quality problem, but it can still be an issue. Right? If you guys want to learn about that, Alan was mentioning, we have a brand new program coming up. It's all online. It's called Rapid Subconscious Bioenergetic Mastery. It's a 3-day online training. It's only $450 for the weekend. So if you go to, let me pull up the link for you guys while I have it. Where is it? There it is. I'm doing a fast action early bird. I wasn't actually going to talk about it today, but this is a perfect opportunity. If you guys go here, you can read about what we're doing and why we're doing it and stuff like that. I'm only going to take like 30 to 50 people for this because I want to make sure that everybody gets the attention that they need. Let me try that again. All right. Let me see if there's any more questions. My dad was so much the same, laughing my ass off. David, your law of attraction dating stuff reeled me in, then real world hypnosis led me to become a special kind of stupid. Yep. I do hypnosis for a living now. Fantastic. I love to hear that. Got to have the showmanship, putting in that elbow grease. Yep. I think they also research for high frequency of energy too. Well, that's a great question, Ken. What they're actually doing in the Buddhist, the Nyingma Buddhist tradition, they have these different levels of spiritual cultivation and evolution. One of the levels they lovingly call live bait. And the live bait level is someone who's, for all intents and purposes, a very innocent spirit that comes in, have lots and lots and lots of energy and no training at all. And so when you come in with all this energy and no way to manage it, everything just comes to feed on you. So in that context, yes, things will come and try to feed on you. But if you go through the process of cultivating your physical body, your energy body, your spirit body, of cleaning up your shit, connecting to the divine, and bringing in more radiance, then your energy field will actually repel all but the strongest parasites out there. You have to be a completely different pay grade to get to you. So on one level, yes, if you have a lot of energy but no defenses, and a lot of holes in your armor, then yeah, you're just a sheep waiting to be led to slaughter, right? But if you go through the training and you raise yourself up and you cultivate that relationship with the higher power, then you get taken off the menu, for lack of a better word. Let me see. All right. That's about all the time that we have today. Paul Rodriguez says, I literally stopped everything I'm doing to watch all of your videos. Well, thank you for that, guys. All right.
Hey, David.
Yes.
Where do we have to go in and sign up for the newsletter, or
if you go to
being sent out to people that are already been?
I would imagine that you're already on it,
Okay.
Christine. But if not, just go to nlppower.com. And depending on when the last time you were there was, as you try to leave, there should be an exit.
Long time.
Join the Forbidden Secrets. Yeah.
I haven't been on there for a long time.
See if you can find
I should, because I probably have more stuff in my files that
I
haven't even.
You're a heavy user. We have the Christine Sutton Shrine inside NLP Power, where All right. Anyway, Jax.
Quick question. Do you have a version of most of your teachings in San Diego, or is it about half Vegas and half San Diego?
Right now, we haven't done anything in Vegas since last Hypno Thoughts. So it's all in San Diego right now. I'm thinking about looking at going back to Vegas, maybe Florida. Even Hypno Thoughts is thinking about leaving Vegas. So they might go to Seattle, or they might go to, they were talking about North Carolina or wherever it's more user friendly or cost effective for them. So right now, everything I do is either online or in San Diego.
Okay. Can I set up an appointment with Dawn for the same visit that I would have for the seminar? Like the same day or the day after?
Reach out to Moss and he'll go through the logistics of that.
If he'll answer my phone calls, he won't. Nobody's answered a single phone call that I've made to your number in months. So I'm a little frustrated.
Try sending him an email and see what happens. Because what happens is I actually have the phone, but it's supposed to be forwarding things to his phone, so it might be getting lost.
Okay. Done. Okay. Also, how can I set up a session with one of your people when I get there or before I get there?
Do you want the session to be with me or with one?
I would like to be with you.
Okay.
I will have the money for it. So
right, send me an email, david@nlppower.com. We'll discuss this through email.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Many blessings.
You're very welcome. Many, many blessings back. All right. I think that's all of you. Any recommendations for New York City? Jules, I don't know what that means. Evelyn is asking, what is your knowledge on Yi Jin Jing and Shi? Were you trying to say Shi Shui Jing? Oh, I practiced those 20, 30 years ago. I'm into lots of other stuff now. But yeah, I have those trainings. They're good. They're Shaolin mostly. All right. Well, guys, I want to thank you all for spending your Friday night with me. I hope the rest of your Friday is awesome. Please click those links, reserve your spot, and let's get together.
Dave has one last question for you.
Who does?
Dave.
Okay, Dave, what do you got?
Thanks, Christine, I guess. Yes. So, no, I don't know if this is a simple question, but I think it is. My question was just, why do people have fear around marketing? Like in general, it seems that people have a fear about doing marketing. So I'm just kind of curious why that is.
It's fear of failure and fear of rejection.
I was thinking rejection. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. What if they don't like it? What if they want a refund? Trust me, refunds are inevitable. If you're not getting refunds, you're not marketing hard enough.
It's a good reframe. I've heard that before, but yeah.
It's actually true. In spite of that, I market really hard. I've got a very low refund rate, but by and large, and the lower price points you have, the more refunds you'll tend to get.
That makes sense.
Understand that refund isn't about them rejecting you. It's usually about them just wanting their money back because they can.
Fair enough.
All right. That's all I got for you.
Thanks.
I'm going to leave this play for you guys for a couple of weeks on the public channel. Then it's going to go into the archive. But please like, share, tell people about it. Please pass the bioenergetic mastery link around. Please show up. And I've never done a training for as low an investment as this because I'm testing the content. Still a lot of stuff that I haven't taught to the public ever. You don't need any prereqs, which is unusual for my energy trainings. So this is a great entry point into all the advanced energetic and psychoenergetic and Qigong stuff we'll be doing in the future. So please hope to see you then. I love you guys. Have a great night. Take care.